when you walk up to the vehicle with the key, it has the proximity system, and as you walk up to it, it senses the key because it'll allow you access to the vehicle, but it just doesn't do anything. So it doesn't sense the key like other vehicles. It'll sense the key and start turning on lights. Now if we hit the unlock button, it illuminates the ground here with an approach light that says Defender on it. It'll look visible vehicle there. It's pretty cool, but it's not as functional as a regular approach light. It does have the parking lights on as well. You do have the ability to turn off all the exterior lights when the vehicle's running, as long as you're still. If you put it in drive, the daytime running lights will turn on. Now I have the parking lights on, and the parking lights are pretty cool. They have this kind of halo around the headlight, and there's also these little accent lights here on the side. And there is a gloss black bezel around the headlights. They kind of reflect in that gloss black. It looks pretty cool. There's also an amber side marker here in the front, a red side marker here in the back, and the taillights look pretty cool. They are these squares. There's two big ones and two little ones, and they're nice and sharp, bright taillights. Really nice, red in color. Then the tag light is on down here. It's a two tag lights. Turn signal in the front is these amber lights, and they're right in the center of those two little square accent lights. So yeah, they look pretty good. Nice amber, pretty decent brightness. Definitely going to be able to see them. There's also a turn signal indicator here on the side mirrors, only visible from the side and the back. It's not visible from the front. It's more bright this way, here in the back. And the turn signal here in the back is basically the same lights, just turn red there in the center. Those same squares have red bright lights here in the center, and it's all four of them. So two big ones, two little ones, all turn into turn signals, and it's all red. There's no amber here, which is interesting. Now the brake light, the third brake light's there at the top of the vehicle, and then it has the reverse lights as well as LEDs. So now let's turn on the low beams. And the low beams are a projector. So it's a projector system. Right there in the very center, right in the middle of that halo, is a projector headlight. And it's kind of interesting because both the low beams and the high beams are in that same projector. Now I'm going to stand back here a little bit, and we're going to dip down and see where the cutoff is. Okay, so this is about 3 feet off the ground. Just under 3 feet off the ground is the cutoff. But yeah, this looked pretty good. Has that like eyeball effect. Looks like angry eyeballs here in the front. It's pretty neat. Now let's go to the high beams. So you can see it's quite a bit higher. There's the cutoff, there's the high beams. But basically we're just looking at the same thing. It's the same projector. No additional lights turning on. It's just that same projector with the high beams shining through it as well. The cargo area is actually pretty decent. So we have a light here in the top center, or almost in the center, but here on the top, it's nice and bright. There's one on the left side. There's one on the right side. There's also some down here. So there's one down here as well, here and here. So even if you have the like the cover that covers up this cargo area, you have the lights underneath it. And then you have this top down, which is like kind of like a, not like really over the shoulder, like just like a top down light. So you can see this entire area is illuminated well. Even if you have things back here, there's very little shadows because of all the lighting, up and down, left and right. Very well done, I think, as far as the cargo area. Even with the black interior, it looks great. The inside of the back door does have a puddle light, so it shines on the ground, showing you what you're going to step in when you get out of the vehicle. Now there's also pocket lights here, here, and there's a lot of these little lights everywhere in the vehicle. It's pretty interesting. The back seat is illuminated with these lights on either side of the sunroof, and do a decent job. Not all that great, because we have black interior really, so kind of doesn't do it justice. I mean, it's okay, you know, it's okay. Now there is lights. I don't know if you can see that over there. That puddle light also illuminates the floor when you shut the door, so it gives a little bit of light there on the floor, which helps out. There's also backlit buttons here for the climate control, but you notice there's some USB charge ports that are not backlit, just the climate control right here. The inside of the driver's door does have the puddle light, illuminates the ground. We also have pocket lights here, illumination here on the handle, and then a backlit buttons there. There's also a illuminated sill plate, defender, floorboard illumination. There's illumination in this pocket right in here. We'll look at that a little bit more when we get inside the vehicle. But the lights here in the front are basically just coming from that little tiny center light. So it's a good thing it has all these pocket lights, because you know, it's not much light here in the front. There's like more light in the cargo area than here in the front. Okay, so I had the door open, interior lights are on, and this is what we're looking at. It's not bad because we have these other lights that are going on in these little pockets and stuff, which help out a lot. I really like that. But just having that one light is kind of interesting. Okay, so let's go ahead and shut the door. See what we're left with here. Now there's some lights coming in from the parking lot. You can see like some shadows here, but I think you get the idea. So here is the steering wheel. You can see the controls are illuminated. And the controls for the headlight switch are not illuminated. There is some vehicles, I know it's not common, but there is some vehicles that illuminate these buttons here. And on this vehicle, it's like kind of weird. It's a different design, and it's a little bit of a learning curve. And so it'd be nice if they had illuminated these, you know. But anyways, I'll show you what it does in a second, because it is a little bit different. Then there's a little pocket right here with a light in it. The gauges are excellent as far as the illumination. Now, sometimes during the day, the gauges are too dim. So because they like auto dim, and I turn the brightness as high as it goes, and they're still too dim during the day. But at nighttime, they look really good. All right, so that lists that. And you notice that there's lights back here, and in this pocket right here. I don't know if you can see that, but there's this pocket right here that's illuminated. It looks really good. Really helps out. And then this area right here under there is illuminated. Under there. So yeah, glove compartment. It's kind of hard to reach this side. All right, so yeah, it has light. This center console does not have a light, which it is basically like a little fridge. So let me turn on the interior lights again, so you can see in there. Even with the interior lights, you can hardly see. So it'd be nice to have a little light in there, but unfortunately it doesn't. Okay, so you see the backlit buttons here. The screen is excellent. The camera is excellent. The rear view camera system is excellent, even day or night. Let's turn on the camera here so you can see what it looks like. Yeah, looks really good. Even in the dark areas, you can see pretty good. But yeah, camera's really good. Okay, so up here it has the rear view camera with the buttons underneath it to adjust it. And then up here, to turn on the interior lights, there's basically you just have to know where it is. You know, there's no light or anything. So you just tap right in here, right next to this little light. This little light shines down in this area, kind of helping out a little bit when it's super dark. But just in front of that, you hit this lens, it turns that light on. Now, that turns on all the interior lights. If you just need a reading light, to the left of that just shines a single light here in your lap. Now I wish those would turn on as well when you turn on the interior lights, but they don't for some reason. Alright, so that's the passenger side reading light. And then you have the lights for the sunroof and stuff. Now the visor has a mirror with a super bright light. Like it's gonna blast your eyeballs if you open that up at nighttime. And also it's like a single light, so it's going to cast a big shadow on your nose. The way this switch works is it has this kind of spring up and down. So if we spring this way, it turns off the exterior lights. If we spring up a little bit, then it turns on the parking lights. If we spring this way, it's the headlights. If we spring all the way down to the bottom, it's the automatic high beams. So it's quite a bit different than most headlight switches where you just turn it on or off, that kind of thing, or just have a dedicated automatic. So this one toggles, so you can toggle on or off the automatic, or you can go to the regular, you can go to the automatic, you can go to parking lights, and then you can go off. So kind of weird, kind of interesting, but it would help if this was illuminated, because when the interior lights are off, you can't see it, so you have to just kind of like guess on what you're doing. I don't know if you can tell, but when I put the turn signal on, it turns on the fog light as like a cornering light. So I turn it to the right, it turns it to the right, left, it's on the left side. The heads-up display looks really good at nighttime, daytime, and nighttime. It's a little dim sometimes during the day because it has that adaptive system to adjust the brightness, but usually it's fine because it's so well done. It has the speedometer that has thick, bold numbers, and it just looks really good. So there's the headlight pattern on the fence, and you can notice there is a lower portion here, right in here, that lines up with the oncoming lane. There's the high beams, there's the low beams, and it's a little bit of a jagged because that will overlap as the distance gets further. So as we drive on the road, you'll see where it lines up. Now also we're dealing with two projectors, not additional lights for the high beams. So when you turn on the high beams, it's like the same light, it's just refocused in a different way. So we see how effective that is. If you hear a beeping noise, that's every time it tells you when the speed limit changes, it'll beep. And it constantly beeps all the time because it's not accurate. So that's what that is. Doesn't even have to pass the sign and it'll start beeping. There, it did it again. Okay, so right up here, the road is going to dip down a little bit, and we're going to look at the low beams and how they appear on the road. And you'll see that the notch, or that shadow I pointed out, is designed to line up with the oncoming lane. So right in here, if you can see that, yeah, it's kind of a little bit in this lane, mostly in the other lane, but it's hard to tell because the headlights really aren't that bright. Okay, so let's go to the high beams here. Low beams, high beams. And the pattern is actually pretty decent. The brightness is just, I think the brightness is just very lacking here. Partially because we have just two projectors, and all the light for the low and the high beams are only coming out of those two projectors. So we have, I mean, I can see pretty decent, but the brightness is surprisingly low for a vehicle like this. And the price range and all that stuff, it is, the pattern is okay. You know, the high beams and low beams, the pattern's good. But boy, the brightness just isn't really there. So hopefully you can see this in the video. It's actually going to be kind of hard to pick up because of the brightness. Let me change the brightness on the camera a little bit here. I'm going to turn that way up. That's much brighter than what it looks like in person. Hopefully you can see the pattern though, because it is a pretty decent pattern. It's just one of them situations where the brightness, I mean, it's okay, but you would think that it would be better for sure. That's the high beams. I have the high beams on right now. It's amazing. And like I said, I turned the camera up, so it's going to make it look super bright, but so you can see the pattern. But otherwise, you might not see anything. But the high beams are just, both the low and the high beams are just too dim. They're just not bright enough for this type of vehicle. You know, they're okay. I mean, they're adequate headlights, but they're certainly not wowing me at all. You know, there's a lot of positive things about this vehicle. Headlights are not one of them.